All right. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly Medicare live stream with the guys, Joe and Greg. What we're going to do is, if you were here last week, you have the opportunity to ask some questions about Medicare, health insurance, whatever you'd like. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, just use the little comment box you can see on your screen. You can just type a question, and we'll try to answer that for you. Anyone who was here last week saw that we did get a couple questions, and what's going to happen is if you can't watch the full video tonight, you can leave a question and then watch the replay, which you can see later on at your leisure. So what we'll do is we'll open it up, Greg or Joe, if we have any Medicare news, anything out there in the world that people need to know about this week.
So I got a couple topics we're going to cover tonight, which shouldn't take too long, but they're all going to link together a little bit. And, as we emailed some folks and told them we were covering, I want to cover questions about two acronyms, LIS and IRMAA, and then one recent legislation that came into effect this past year. But I'm going to be rambling for a while. So before I get into anything, Joe, is there anything you want to touch on before I jump into this?
No, not too much news so far yet. Obviously, we're still in September. However, last week we did cover prescription plans and people getting their drugs to us, what they're taking, so we can review plans. And I've gotten a few of those. I've actually used the link that we spoke about as far as implementing our clients implementing their prescriptions onto this link and sending it back to us, and it worked quite well. So I got a couple of those back. So that worked out pretty good. So I suggest that I will, ask everyone to do that. I'll get an email out to my clients tomorrow and send that link because it did work pretty well. And hopefully they can get an early start on that. So we have them by October 1st. And when all the new plans come out, we can kind of get working on that a little bit early and make sure we get everyone done even way before December 7th. We'll have those stragglers, obviously, that'll come in December 7th, but that's okay. But we can get the majority of the work done in October, early November.
All right.
So I've got a lot of customers have contacted me asking for that link. I've kind of delayed sending it out a little bit. It's pretty early still. And again, the plan info we talked about doesn't come out till October 1st. So we're not going to go over new plan info yet. I know everyone's anxious for it, but I want to cover the topics that I feel like we get a lot of questions about, and why wait till open enrollment to cover them. This is the time we can cover them now. So I'm going to start with, before we take questions, and I know, Ryan, you want to touch on, everybody can always shoot a question. I know we have one waiting, so we'll answer that when we get a chance. But, as Ryan always says, send your questions in. He'll read them off to us, and we'll get them answered as quickly as possible. But I'm going to cover these three topics. And the first one's LIS. And Medicare, anything government, they love using acronyms. LIS stands for Low Income Subsidy. So we're going to span the whole thing here and what these things mean. Low income subsidy is basically extra help. If your income is below a certain threshold, Social Security is pretty much already aware of it. They'll send you information telling you qualify. If I read these thresholds off tonight and you find that, hey, I never hear anything from Social Security, but I think I do qualify, then obviously it's worth a phone call to them. So first thing we'll talk about before we get to IRMAA is low income subsidy. And like I said, it's extra help. If you're under a certain income threshold.
Greg, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you want to share your screen and show the slides that you had?
I will for IRMAA. For low income subsidy, I'm just going to read off because there's just two thresholds here. So, but I'm going to use that for another slide.
Gotcha.
Another piece. So with low income subsidy, I'm looking down, reading off the paper because I don't always remember these, but you would automatically qualify. And I'll explain what this means once you realize this, but 2020, you qualify if you are under $19,140 in yearly income, $25,860 for a married couple. And then there are a certain number of resources you're permitted to have, and we can get to those numbers in a moment. But what this does, what the extra help or low income subsidy does is it really helps you with Part D prescription coverage, whether you buy a Part D plan or you use a Medicare Advantage plan. What it does is it helps to subsidize the premiums. So depending on what level of low income subsidy you get, your premiums could be half, they could be 1/4 of the actual price, they could be nothing. And it also maxes out your possible cost of drugs. So if you take generics, the most they could ever cost if you qualify for LIS is, I got to find it, $3.60. Your name brands, here's what's really important. Your name brands, the highest they can ever cost is $8.95. So basically what low income subsidy does is it drops down and it helps to pick up those really big costs. It drops down and it helps you if you're in the donut hole. It drops down and it picks up a deductible for you. Also helps pay your premium. So things that count, your income, whether it's Social Security or W-2 income, you're still working maybe, or if you're part-time, whatever it may be, that's going to count. Interest and dividends are going to count. Taking money out of an IRA is going to count. So those are the things that can bump you above that threshold. So you really have to look at your tax return, if you do one, because not everybody has to, and look at what your adjusted gross income is. If you find that you're under the limits I just said, and I'll say them one more time, if you're single filer, it's $19,140. If you're married filing joint, it's $25,860. You should qualify for some level of LIS. And if you find that you haven't gotten that information, you should contact Social Security for it. If you don't qualify for LIS, your state may have a program. In New Jersey, you have PAD, P-A-A-D, or Senior Gold. In Pennsylvania, you have PACE. In every state, there's pretty much some form of assistance for prescriptions. The PAD numbers and PACE numbers both run higher than LIS, so there is a possibility you can get some assistance there. What this does, again, is help you with the prescription coverage. It also gives you a year-round special election period. So if you find that you're in a plan you're not happy with, you don't have to wait till annual enrollment. You get one shot every year to make a change to your plan. So that's LIS. That's one side. If your income's below a threshold, that's a benefit to you. You have that benefit. Make sure you're getting that benefit if you feel that you fit in that area. The other side of the coin is IRMAA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. This is your surcharge for earning too much money. So if you remember last week, we said Part B of Medicare is $144.60 a month. That's the average for most Americans. A percentage of you fall into this IRMAA category where because you've made too much, you're going to have to pay a surcharge. I call it a penalty, but it's to each his own, whatever you want to call it. Basically, the more you make, the higher your Medicare is going to cost. I'm going to bring a chart up for you so you'll know if you fit into this bracket. This chart, and I'll put my little pointer on, you can see income. IRMAA is income-related monthly adjustment amount. Like I said, they love to use acronyms.
Craig, can you share your screen? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yep.
Sharon, hang on one. Sorry about that, guys.
Just want to make sure everyone can see what you're talking about.
And share. And I am sharing, Ryan. So if you've got that, is it up yet?
I don't see it. Make sure you do it on the. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
All right, there we go. We got it.
So for one, so you can see at the top of my page, it says IRMAA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. As I said, they love using these fancy acronyms. This is your Part B adjustment. So there was Part B and Part D adjustment. So this is Part B. You can see my red pointer showing that. We have 4 columns here. The first one is individual filers. Second is joint. And then the third is how much it's going to cost. So if you're an individual filer, look down the first column and see how much you make. Now, this is going by your modified adjusted gross income 2 years ago. So if you're in 2020 and you're wondering, do you have to pay this? Well, you already probably know by now, but they're going off of your 2020 or 2018 filing. So if your modified adjusted gross income was less than $87,000 as an individual, then you paid the standard $144.60. You can look all the way over here to the right side. But then start going down. If your 2018 income was in this second area, $87,109, well, now look all the way across the screen. They're adding $57.80 per month, so they're taking $202.40 out. And then so on and so forth, all the way to if you've made more than $500,000 a year, they are going to jump it even further to a max of $491.60 a month. So you can see the more you made 2 years ago, the more it's going to cost you today. And for a lot of folks, sorry, my screen jumped there. For a lot of folks, you might say, well, I'm retired. I'm not making that money anymore. Well, that's understandable, but you could be retired for 2 years. They're still looking back 2 years. So you can see this monthly amount can get dramatically higher. If that's not enough, and listen, they're going to tell you if you owe it. And if you feel that you do not owe it, you should contact them. But I can tell you, I've had clients who felt they shouldn't owe it. They've looked around, and sure enough, Medicare or Social Security did not make a mistake. They found the money that it was owed. I said modified adjusted gross income. What does that mean? Typically, for most folks, it's your adjusted gross income. It's everything you made less any above-the-line deduction. So if you still contributed to an IRA, that's an above-the-line deduction. That brings your adjusted gross down. If you took business deductions, if you have self-employed tax you take off, your adjusted gross is everything you made minus those couple of items. This is a pretty big number. Like I said, it can get dramatically higher. And more importantly now, you also get knocked on Part D as well. So for your prescription plan, and this is the question I get really often. Actually, I just got this question the other day. Some folks go, well, Greg, I signed up with you for Part D and I'm getting it from WellCare, which maybe is only $15.70 a month. That is correct. And then they look at their Social Security statement and go, well, Social Security just charged me, I don't know, $31.50. They said I owed more for their Part D, but they say to me, like, I think I'm getting my Part D from you. Am I not? You are getting it from me. I did sign you up for Part D, but this number gets thrown in and taken out of your Social Security automatically because, again, look at the income thresholds. If you're earning too much, they're going to hit you again and again. Once your earnings go down, because typically in retirement we earn less, your number, you'll start incrementally going down, but this can be a big number. And you can see there are some folks who get hit really hard with this, especially, things that are unexpected. You finish work, you got a buyout package, a retirement package, something like that. And lo and behold, you're getting hit with a really high number because they're factoring all that into 1 year. So not to throw charts at you and confuse you. If you feel like that's an issue for you, please send me an email or something like that. I can look at those numbers and make sure if you fit in that category or not. The third thing I'm going to touch on, let me stop for 1 second, Ryan. Do we have any questions? Anybody throw any questions at you so far?
So we don't have any questions about that specifically. We do have Mildred Bachmeyer checking in, saying hi. We do have a question about the donut hole. So it's not related to the IRMAA thing. So I don't see anything specific to those actual slides.
Okay, so I'm going to jump on the Secure Act then before I touch on that donut hole question, because the Secure Act, this is legislation that came out last year. It went into effect in January 1st, 2020, and it does affect both of the items I just talked about, LIS and IRMAA, and here's how. If you have a retirement account and you've never touched it, you're saying, hey, I don't need it yet, I'm not taking money out of it, you know that at some point the government wants you to take money out of that plan. At some point they say, look, we've never taxed your 401k, we've never taxed your IRA, we need that money to come out because we need to tax it. Uncle Sam wants his piece, okay? So it used to be you had to take your required minimum distribution at the age of 70 and a half. And if you're turned 70 and a half prior to January 1st, 2020, you still have to take your required minimum distribution. Now, the Secure Act that went into effect January 1st, they realize we're living longer. We don't, some people are still working up into their 70s, so they changed it to 72. So for those of you who just turned 70 and a half this year, it doesn't actually matter for you anymore. You have until 72 now to start taking your RMD. The reason I bring that up is twofold. One, it's knowledge you might want to know, because again, if you're in that part right now, you can forego taking money out of your retirement accounts. But understand, when you take that money out of your retirement accounts, it can affect your LIS. It can also affect your IRMAA. So you can say, hey, I've never taken money out of my IRA, so it's not affecting my LIS. But guess what? Every time you take money out of it after you turn 72 now, that could knock you out of getting LIS because it's causing your income to go higher. Same with IRMAA. I got a call from a client not long ago, maybe about a year ago, and he said, Greg, I just suddenly got my Medicare went up. And I said, I actually thought he was talking about his Medicare supplement. I said, well, we talked about this, there's some increases every year. And he said, no, my Medicare just doubled. And I didn't understand at first. I said, you mean your Medicare Part B? He said, yeah. And I said, how old are you right now? And he goes, I'm 71. I said, so you turned 70 and a half in the middle of last year, right? Or I'm sorry, 7 and a half, 2 years ago, right? He said, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong numbers. I said 72. I said, so you turned 70 and a half 2 years ago? He said, yeah. And I said, well, there it is. Did you have to take money out of your retirement accounts? He said, yes. I said, okay. It pushed you into a higher bracket, and it now is causing you to have to pay more. It can happen. So like I said, the required minimum distribution can cause issues in that. One, it can take you out of the LIS where all of a sudden you were getting this extra help and now you're not. And that can be a very, very small distribution that can push you over those numbers I gave you. And then IRMAA, same thing. If you were right on the edge of that between, pensions and retirement planning, all of a sudden you take money out of your retirement account, and next thing you know, you just got bumped into a new bracket there. So Secure Act helps a little because it makes you can wait a little longer to take anything, but just understand that it's there. And then with COVID, check with your accountant on this, but for most, I don't think you're forced to take an RMD right now, but I would check with my accountant just to make sure, because you may or may not fall in that bracket. But that's the things I really want to touch on. A lot of folks don't understand that, LIS is available if you're under that threshold. IRMAA is there. If you fall above that threshold, they're going to make you pay. And, the Secure Act with the change to the RMD, that can affect you both ways in the negative. It can take you off LIS and really start costing you some money, or it can toss you into that. As far as BGA, we do assist with folks with the retirement planning section. So if you need assistance with what to do with your RMDs, how to take them out, how much is, the calculations, which most of your plans will do that for you. If you've never rolled over your 401k, these are all things we help with. So you can always throw questions at us, let us take a quick look at it and see if we can help you there.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is if you are extremely confused about everything Greg just said, just give him a call, or Joe, right? I mean, if it's one of those things where if your mind is just saying, look, I don't want to understand this, I don't want to need to, sounds like they should just give you guys a call and you'll figure it out for them, because quite honestly, it's just one of those things that, it sounds like you can just lose a lot of money potentially, pay too much. So, why not just give Greg or Joe a call? Joe, I don't know if you want to jump in here at all.
Greg covered a lot, but I mean, there was a couple breakups in that connection, but just wanted to mention some of the things that could count towards your eligibility for low income subsidy would be like CDs in the bank, IRAs if you're taking money out. Obviously, Greg did mention that later on again. Also, if you own real estate besides your primary residence, that could be counted towards that also. Some notes on that. Now, over the years, we've dealt with this a lot, the low income subsidy. So I could have sworn when you were going into, when you were mentioning New Jersey, some of the programs that they have there, but in Pennsylvania, and this is where I got cut off, PACE and PACE-Net. Some of you may have seen friends, or if you have it yourself, the PACE card, the PACE-Net card, the little green card. A lot of dual eligibles have that. So that's a program that's it's not that hard to sign up for if you do qualify, and that's something that we could walk you through. We've been walking through that program with people for years and helping them get on that program when needed. So it's something that you definitely want to reach out to us if you feel like you're in that threshold of the income brackets. We can definitely help you out.
So I heard you mention dual eligibility there, Joe. I'm wondering, for people who don't know what that means, can you just maybe give us a brief overview of what dual eligibility means?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, when you qualify for both Medicaid and Medicare, okay, it's going to do away with a lot of the big, the big deductibles, the premiums, cutting down on your copays if there are any. And again, it all depends on, which threshold you fall into. Again, saving money on prescriptions, the out-of-pocket expenses that I heard Greg mention, as far as what it's going to cost for brand name drugs and generics, things like that. So, the plans that we carry, the carriers, have the dual eligible plans, and then basically if they accept Medicare, they accept the Medicaid, certain doctors. And so we've helped people out with that over the years also. So that's when they qualify for both Medicare and Medicaid.
All right. Greg, do you want to take a question from the audience here?
Sure.
So Frederick Iolucci says, how do I get out of the donut hole?
Quite a question on everyone's mind. Unfortunately, there's no easy way. The donut hole, everyone was made to believe it would go away over the time, and it's changed quite a bit over the last 10 years. So prior to 2010, if you hit the donut hole, which just to give you a refresher, there's a few levels you go through with Part D. You start in a deductible phase with prescription coverage. Some plans have a deductible, some don't. Then you enter initial coverage. And the initial coverage phase, you pay roughly 25% of the drug cost. Your plan pays the other 75%. And that is usually a standard copay. So typically you might pay $2 for a generic. You might pay $40 for a name brand. When you hit the coverage gap, that's because you've exhausted initial coverage. I don't have the limits in front of me, but let's say once your total drug cost, that's what you paid and what the plan paid. Once it hits roughly, $3,700, $4,000 now, you enter the coverage gap. And the coverage gap pre-2010 used to be that you paid everything and the plan paid nothing until you hit like $6,000 out of pocket, and then you went into catastrophic coverage. Today, over the last 10 years, the donut hole has dwindled. So now if you go in the donut hole, you pay 25% of the drug, and then you hit catastrophic coverage once you have a max out of pocket. And again, I think it's $45.50. What does that mean? So let's use a really popular drug, Xarelto. It's a really, really popular drug, but it's a really expensive drug. And it's probably about a $500 a month drug. Well, during initial coverage, you're not paying $500 a month. If you have a decent plan I would have probably gotten you, is going to put you down around $40 a month, maybe $42, something like that. But that's not what's counting towards the donut hole. The full cost of the drug is what's counting towards the donut hole. So people get confused by this. They say, well, how did $42 a month I'm paying for Xarelto get me to the donut hole? It didn't. It's the $500 of actual cost that got you there. And once you're there, now you're going to pay 25% of that drug. So a drug like Xarelto that's say $500, you go in to pick it up one day and now it's $100 and some because you're paying 25% of the $500, and you're going to keep paying that till you hit that catastrophic coverage. Most clients do not get the catastrophic. It would take a lot more than just a few name brand drugs to get there. Most clients hit it and get stuck in that donut hole right through the end of the year before it starts again. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that's helping with this. You know, we do see some ways of containment, asking for, you know, listen, hit the donut hole, talk to your doc. Doc, I need some samples. I mean, listen, no one wants to pester the doctor's office, but guess what? They got some samples in there. Try to utilize it. Another method is to go directly to the manufacturer. So, you know, Google Xarelto, see who is the maker, and they usually have some sort of program to help you out. I know with a lot of drugs, they'll give you some kind of discount card that gets you $10 copay for a year or something like that. So these are some techniques. Our real big hope is that these new executive orders that were just signed by the president, they're looking to bring down drug costs. It sounds great. Hopefully it goes into effect and works. I mean, I don't know 100%. I don't know what it takes on the other end, but the idea behind those executive orders is to make drug prices more competitive with what is being charged around the world, because other countries do not pay the same fees we do. So basically the executive orders that were signed are to try to, I think, if I read it correctly, is to make sure that we're paying no more than the highest across the rest of the world of what a manufacturer puts that drug out. So that could help. But as far as, you know, again, that's the long answer. I just gave you, 10 minutes worth of an answer. The short answer is no, there's no easy way out. It's a matter of ask your doctor for some samples, contact directly the maker of the drug and see if they can give you a discount card. And then, you know, if there's a generic alternative your doctor can get you, that'd be great. Check in with them on that as well.
Yeah, regarding the donut hole, the coverage gap in 2021 coming up, it would be 4130 out of obviously 4,130. So that means if you're taking that's a combination of all your prescriptions too, not each prescription. So if you're taking 5 prescriptions, you're obviously going to reach it a lot faster earlier in the year than you would if you were taking 1 or 2 major prescriptions that cost a lot of money. So that limit starts at 4,130 and it's up to 6,550 in 2001. So it's raised up a little bit, and that's what get out of it to go into catastrophic coverage.
All right, Frederick, I hope that covers the answer. There will be a replay of this video if you got to rewind and watch that a few times just to get the full gist of it. I don't see any other questions from the audience. I do have a question for Joe, which I'm going to ask every stream, which is, has Joe learned Back in Black yet on the drums? Probably the easiest drum song there is.
I told you last week, I'm clear. I was playing it so hard I broke my sticks, so I can't actually perform for you.
Because last week you didn't have the drums behind you, Joe. So I thought maybe you were hiding, the fact that you couldn't play Back in Black, but
Yeah, I was in the office last week during our.
Oh, okay.
Maybe next week's that'll be the outro music. Joe can.
Yeah, I know we've had comments. People want to see Back in Black, or at least something very easy from the classic rock here.
In the background anymore either. So
yeah, Greg, I see an empty guitar stand. So I don't know if you're trying to.
My screen, I think. Let me see. Can I do it? They're hanging on.
Oh, all right. So it's hanging on the wall, which I guess is even worse. I guess hanging on the wall is even worse because
I just put them up there.
Yeah, I guess hanging on the wall is worse because that means it's definitely never being played.
No, there's a ton of dust on that.
Yeah, and it probably has half a string on each fret there.
Oh, I'll that next week. I'll put them in the background and I can fake play for a while.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're getting on about a half an hour here. I don't see any other questions. You guys, this will be available as a replay, so you can watch it on YouTube and Facebook. Greg, I'm sure
everybody can go back if they want and watch some of the past videos we've done, because you may have jumped on the first time tonight, but we've covered other subjects regarding Medicare in our past videos that if you have any questions, you may want to check out. And then if you have any questions after that, obviously you can give us a call or you can call your agent, your BGA agent. But I suggest going back on our YouTube channel and watching some of the other videos. And then from this day forward, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m., we'll be covering different subjects through annual enrollment.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, maybe we should put a page on the website that has all the previous videos just kind of laid out, what we covered, Medicare Part A, Part B, Part D, so that people can just kind of run through them if they need a refresher. But these videos each week will be live, and then, we'll save the replays for everybody. But with that, I don't know if you guys have any final comments. I know October 1st is a big deadline for Medicare, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot of information come then, but it's still mid-September. But if you guys have anything you want to say before we sign off here.
One last thing. I know this week is the first week I think we started it. Other agents at BJA are starting to invite some of their clients to watch these streams. In future weeks, we're going to have other agents on to give you some of their perspective. But I want to make sure everyone understands that just because Joe and I are the ones on here, if you have an agent at BGA and you want to reach out to them, please do. Reach out to them directly. If you, for some reason, can't find their direct contact info, reach out to us, but make sure any comment section you put who your agent is, or we'll look it up for you. I just want to make sure you understand that if you're watching tonight, just because your agent's not on this stream with us doesn't mean they're not still your agent. They invited you to come watch it. We'd like to make sure you're reaching out to them and touching base with them as well. And if you really want to see your agent on this live stream, you should let us know. We'll make sure they come on.
And especially if they can play drums, we do want to see that. All right, that's about half an hour exactly. So I guess we'll wrap it up there, and we will see everyone. Or actually, Joe, did you want to sign off there? I should probably ask. I think he might be. I think we might have lost Joe to the lag out.
Yeah. He put a wax figure in place.
He tried to bail. I think we made him feel. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, I think Joe's.
Guys, another end.
Yeah, it's all right. It's internet connection, modern technology. It happens.
Found us all.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna sign off here, and we will see everyone next Tuesday night at 6 p.m.
All right, have a good week, everyone.
Take care.